Hello, and welcome to the Edinburgh Napier Jazz Society's radio show After Hours, where we listen to other jazz-related albums. Maybe not something you call strictly jazz, because we're kind of taking a little bit of freedom here, and freedom with the term jazz as well. So today we're going to be listening to Herbie Mann, who is a jazz, or maybe not jazz, flautist.
Yeah, interesting little character we've got here. I've basically, again, I've looked at like some poor jazz reviews, and this one was just like really shat upon the idea of just what a jazz musician is. He wasn't a fan of jazz. Particular review wasn't a fan of jazz flute players either, but he said this is the worst album he's ever listened to, and he said he had to put it here. So I think we'll give this one a wee listen. We got the 7-minute song. It's called So this song is called Battle Hymn of the Republic. That was Battle Hymn of the Republic from 1969. What do you think?
What is not to like? I mean, that was just so lovely. And it was like, I don't know, really chill, but then he was proper shredding on the flute. I don't think you can hear flute in that style, though, without just like hearing going up country. Canned Heat. I'm going up country.
Oh, right.
Because
yeah.
there's the line in that is like it's flute,
Okay,
basically.
I see.
And so whenever you hear flute like this, it's like, oh, it reminds me of that. But so nice, actually. I don't know what's not to like. I mean, you were saying this jazz review just did not like
Yeah,
flute
he said
in
that you didn't
jazz.
like the flute anyway, but because this one was just so terrible. I don't know. I really liked that. I thought for a second I thought like at the start I thought the organ was getting a bit like monotonous and kind of like in the way, but it kind of, especially as the song developed, it really sat well quite nicely in the back, and it kind of just gave the kind of foundation which the flute could build on, and it built on it brilliantly. And again, using different sounds from the flute to
Mm.
kind of like carve its little space in the mix, I thought was brilliant.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, it's such a vibe. This is something that I'd love to have on vinyl and something that I'd definitely put on in the background of like, I don't know, late night drinking, listening to music, having a chat, playing cards. Like this is the perfect kind of song I'd say for that.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're about to have a listening lounge as well, and we could maybe like put this on. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's an interesting idea.
But yeah,
Um,
I'm, you know what? I'm pretty happy to say that I actually quite liked that, and yeah, I just because it wasn't like your kind of normal or like more basic kind of drum patterns as well. In terms of jazz, it was kind of more straight and to the point. I think people misjudge that as being bad, and that's kind of like not what the point is.
I think it's stylistic choice.
Yeah, if you're going for straight drums, that means it just leaves more room for your soloist. It's a kind of play with space and like how full do you want it to be, how like what do you want to stand out and what do you not want to stand out. And this goes back to like, you know, and this goes throughout like all of jazz history. You know, Sarah Vaughan, her backing being very like out of the way and minimalist. But if you listen to Vaughan and Violins, um, an album that I actually want to review at some point as well, it's like she sings a lot of the time with the violins, and it's kind of like it's a back and forth more,
Interesting.
and it you know it's different ways to express the same like point, and like you know it's and that's why there's like so many different covers as well of songs as like in jazz, like because there's so many different ways to play it.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, should we listen to maybe one more, maybe two? This is Coming Home, Baby. So this is just on a soul kind of collection record.
So yeah, I would call this soul and jazz as well, but it's solely jazz, I'd say.
Yeah, just because it's jazz flute, I think that's why. So it's like, you know, it's jazz flute, but like the backing kind of makes it recontextualizes it.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll listen to this track here, Coming Home, Baby. that was Coming Home Baby, a very nice blues there.
I've heard that before. I don't know where. Maybe it's just the melody line, but I feel like I've heard it on the flute. Certainly very nice. Again, like such a good vibe. And yeah, bass solo, pretty sick.
Yeah.
We having looked up, we think the bass player is called Ben Tucker, but I'm not entirely sure if that's correct.
We can double check that later. But yeah, again, good with space. Not taking like it felt very jammy as well, and I'm sure it probably was. Like I'm hearing like background chatter as well.
Yeah,
And
this
it
was
sounded good.
live at the Village Gate. I'm not sure where that is.
Okay.
But it was live. Nice. It was nice sound live, especially with the mix of the kind of audience.
Yeah, it kind of gave itself a more of an atmosphere. I wonder if they put a microphone kind of face towards the audience so they could like kind of get the atmosphere and build it, which
Yeah.
it definitely goes for it's one of our 5 pillars that we're studying at the moment in music scene. So that works quite well.
No, definitely.
Yeah.
So it turns out Herbie Mann, he was born in 1930 in New York. So it turns out he's actually played with like quite a lot of jazz musicians. He toured Brazil and then also returned to the US to record with Brazilian musicians, including Antonio Carlos Jobim, who's a piano player, and guitarist Baden Powell, really, really good players. And then he's also played with Chick Corea. And so, yeah, I think he was really like big on his Brazilian kind of jazz, which is interesting. He also, so this is a fun fact, he founded his own record label called Embryo Records, which I think I've heard of that before.
Yeah, I think it rings a bell.
It was a division of Atlantic Records, so that's probably why we've heard of it before. But one of the albums recorded there was Up by Dick Morrissey and Jim Mullen, and the rhythm section to that is the Average White Band, which who are from Scotland. So that's a nice connection here. Definitely some music we should listen to.
Yeah, definitely. Cut the Cake is a banger of a tune.
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, really good with just the space again in general, and kind of like it's interesting. I think maybe he's become like a villainous scene in jazz just because of how much he played, and because he released 42 albums, so that's why he's such like a common face there. Yeah, I think that was I'm low-key kind of a fan. I kind of like this. Yeah, it's like really not as bad as this review says, but this is the interesting thing with like online reviews. You have to remember it's the internet and everyone hates on everyone kind of thing. So it's just that kind of deal, I guess.
Yeah, should we listen to one last one?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I think we'll leave you with the next tune here. We'll leave you with
Samba di Minatera.
There we are.
So yeah, thank you very much for listening to our After Hours show. This has been Herbie Mann, and I would leave this with enjoyable, really good listening, and he kind of does shred the flute.
True. Nice.
Right. Thanks very much. This is Samba di Minatera.
O samba da minha terra deixa a gente mole. Quando se canta todo mundo bole. Quando se canta todo mundo bole. O samba da minha terra deixa a gente mole. Quando se canta todo mundo bole. Quando se canta todo mundo bole. Quem não gosta de samba, bom sujeito não é. É ruim da cabeça ou doente do pé. Eu nasci com o samba, no samba me criei. E do danado do samba, nunca me separei. O samba da minha terra deixa a gente mole. Quando se canta todo mundo bole. Quando se canta todo mundo bole. gosta de samba, bom sujeito não é. É ruim da cabeça ou doente do pé. Eu nasci com o samba, no samba me criei. E do danado do samba nunca me separei. O samba da minha terra deixa a gente mole. Quando se canta todo mundo bole. Quando se canta todo mundo bole.